guys, my name is Nina and I welcome you back to my channel. Depending on what video you will be watching in the future, we shall see. I have some time on my hands today, so I thought it would be the best opportunity to finally start with Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series, which is a long journey, I'm aware of that, but it is the last series in her books and in this pilgrimage, as my friend calls it, that I still need to read. So I am brave enough today to finally start it. I have lent the book from the library and I will start reading it. I am a little on the fence. Not just because it's a long series, but also because it is YA. Hear me out. I love YA, as you possibly can see, my YA stuff is there. Oh, also a little bit of there. But it is difficult with YA and me. It has to fit. It has to fit. Sometimes it does fit. Sometimes it really just does not. And I highly believe that A Throne of Glass, especially the first book, will not fit with me. Or I will not fit with the book. I think this is the proper way around. Because it is kind of old, and like this YA fantasy era back in the day, I experienced it. I loved it actually. I mean, maybe I'm saying some wrong things now, but I think it was around the time where Shadow and Bone got released, where YA was just coming out with those fantasy type, and like YA was just becoming more of a thing. I think at least it's what this area is about here. It just says 2023, which is when this book was released. But also, since she wrote it in like college or high school, I'm not sure anymore. I think this will be a type of book that I will really struggle with. But my best friend, who knows my reading habit and who knows that I get annoyed at books because we constantly say that I don't like to have fun. She knows my reading taste and she warned me about this book and the second one in the series, because those are kind of different from how it will be or what it will be in the end or something. I don't know. I didn't ask more because I don't want any spoilers, but I just know that it will be a challenge. Like I said before, I am a little on the fence and I am very hesitant to start a new series, especially because it has, what, 7 books or something? 7, 8, 9? Something along those lines, at least. And I'm already in the middle of so many different books, series, also so many different fantasy series, and there are so many that I also want to start. So it's really, I really had to think about this one, but I felt the urge for some YA fantasy and I really want to start getting into this because I've also heard amazing things and I really, really like the idea of me being very, sad about this fantasy series, because I also read Akata and I am right now in the middle of reading the 3rd book in the Crescent City series, and I really enjoyed Akata to some degree. It was not like my favorite books of all time, but I really liked how Sarah J. Maas portrayed the character relationships and how tight-knit it was. It like felt like watching a show with like 20 seasons or something, like the Vampire Diaries. You just come back to the show and something happens again and then something happens again and you love these characters so much after a while and you hate them as well, and then things change again, and this is like how it feels to me to read Akata. And I hope to have this again in this book because I really am craving some good characters that I would like to follow along, or like not good characters per se, they can also be bad, that I like to follow around. Just some characters that I feel like coming back to all the time, and I'm really missing this because I haven't had this since reading Akata. So I'm giving this a shot. I will prep some tea now and then I will start reading, I think, upstairs, so we shall see about that. Oh, also, before I forget, disclaimer, I just moved, so everything is a little chaotic and not properly unpacked and not fully furnished. So, we shall see how this goes. Okay, so I think I've reached a point where I can stop without feeling like I'm in the middle of something. I'm now at chapter... Look, I should have put a bookmark in here. Yeah, I searched for this in a bit, but I have read until they have arrived at the kingdom. I don't remember the name. Eveline? Evie? I'm so bad with names. They just have arrived at the kingdom. And yeah, so far so good. I am not entirely sure what I think of the entire premise of this competition. I'm not such a fan of this. And she also feels like this typical badass. And I'm not so convinced of that yet. And yeah, I don't know. What do I think? Right now I think she's really annoying. But I do like Dorian a lot. I usually like this type of character, so there's no surprise there. I think, you know, the entire premise is a little weird because she will win anyway. Will she? I will be, hold my thoughts, I would be very, 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 very surprised if she won't win. Then this book gets like an extra star. Yes, because... you know, you just go in expecting that she will... No, I'm not. I just opened the backside out of habit. I will not look, but you know, if she wins, this will be great. But if she doesn't win, that's what I want to say. It's great because I don't expect her not to win, basically. And this would be a great twist. But I don't think she will not win. I think she will win. And I think it will all go according to plan, and maybe someone will die and then get resurrected. Maybe even her. Because this is also a thing what Sarah J. Maas does. But yeah, what else? I don't know. I think she's too perfect so far. I mean, so perfect, unperfect. Yeah, but we shall see. I'm also not so far into it. I guess I read until like 50 or something, I guess. I'm not so sure right now. Should have gotten a bookmark. Anyway. I will stop now. I will make something for lunch. Maybe I will read again today or like later on. Maybe not. We shall see. Because I want to take my time with this too. Because I'm a little scared that if I try to rush, I will really not like it. And we don't want that, do we? We don't want another book that I really cannot stand. No. So yeah, I will update you at some other point. See ya. Quick reading update before I read a little more and go and make some dinner. As you can see, it's still a little chaotic. Just ignore the chaos in the background. I am, you know, I don't know, like almost at page 300 at this point. Yeah, what shall I say? God, I hope it's not too wobbly with my phone. What shall I say? It's not getting better. It's just a lot of don't show but tell, or like tell and not show, and it just continues, and we barely see anything of this competition, which I really dislike, you know, because it's so, yeah, I don't know, like I want to read about this competition because it's the main focus, but I still feel like this book, it really doesn't know where it wants to go, kinda. It's like it takes so many paths, and like it puts everything in there, and then we have this romance situation, and she's always going in a circle kinda, and then presents it as a new thought. For example, like suddenly liking Dorian, but she has been liking Dorian since a while, and yeah, I don't know. And then she just presents it as like, oh, the realization I've never had before. I like Dorian. Yeah, and I'm just a little fed up with this. But I will keep going because I've heard great things, and I know I should not do that. I should DNF stuff if I don't like it, because, you know, it's a waste of time. But with a series that is supposedly very beloved, and I believe that, I highly believe that, that there's a reason for this, obviously. And I want to witness this myself, because I enjoyed Akutar for what it was. And I'm also now, with the third volume that I'm still listening to, I'm enjoying Crescent City, and I know that she can write character relations and all that very well. I just want to have this next group of people that I will kind of fall in love with, and I hope I will get there. Yeah, plot-wise, where am I? I think last time it was a situation with Nehemia. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering her name, but something with this plot twist, you know, about her that's going on, and she's still going to her path of this weird ghost situation at the tomb, and I don't know what to think of it. I will get back to reading and keep everything in mind. I was luckily, you know, warned that I might not like it so much, or like I think parts would annoy me, and I'm glad that I was prepared for this, and I will stick around and get through the first 2 books, and then we shall see. I will update you in a while, and I continue reading Throne of Glass. Okay, quick little update. I have read a bigger chunk this time. I think, I feel, I hope. And I'm soon done. I'm at like page, let me see, 366. And that means I'm almost done. So I try my best to finish it today. I'm not sure if I will, because we also want to go for a walk or like a hike or something. There's this trail, like 20 minutes with a car-ish or something from us, which is not so far. Yeah, and the weather is actually much better than I thought it would be, so it would be a waste to stay here until it rains. Anyway, about the book, quick update. There have been revelations. You know, I don't want to spoil too much. Just the basis of the story I want to talk about, so, you know, I don't want to explain too much, but there has been this mystery, obviously. And it was like a who did this and what is going on, or is this even a who did this kind of thing. And most of you know this anyway, because you have all read Throne of Glass. I feel like it's like the book everyone has read. The reveal was now basically, it's not really twisty. The plot twist was not twisting. You know, it was like the most obvious situation and choice, kinda. And I feel like this would have really been something that could have gotten me really into this again. If it would have been something that I wouldn't have anticipated, or that I would have felt much more strongly about, then I think I would have been much more invested again and would be much more into it and would want to read about what was going to happen next. But yeah, like I said, it was something that you just kind of expect, and this was also a little, you know, I don't know, not so entertaining. And now I am at this page where this big fight at the end is happening, or like big fight, and it's also, how do I say it? It's like, obviously it's about her being so good and strong again. And don't get me wrong, I know when this was written, I know how old Sarah J. Maas was when she wrote this, and I like that she's not this typical plain protagonist in fantasy books and stuff like this. That was a thing back in the day, basically, you know, when these books came around. For this, I really think that's actually great, because, you know, usually they were like, oh, I'm so plain, I'm so weak, and then they learned how strong they actually were, and here she is just basically strong and gets stronger, I suppose. And I don't mind that. I just mind how the character is developed and portrayed. It's like, how do I say it? This person has basically the advantage, but obviously she needs to have another disadvantage, basically, to prove that she is just this girl, you know? And I really don't like that, because it's obvious that she's going to win. Like, what was established in the beginning, it's so obvious that this will also be true and take place, and they also, you know, talk about this being the thing, but that's why there are basically no stakes for me, which is weird because I have read The Hunger Games, I have read the other books that just came out with Haymitch. You just know what happens, and I was still so invested in it all, and right now I'm just not. Maybe it's also the mindset because I went into it thinking I wouldn't like it, which is a thing I do, sadly. Me and my best friend always say I don't like to have fun. But no, I think they shouldn't have done that, but it's okay, it's way, right? It's way. So I don't really have such high expectation. Anyway, I'm rambling. I think you can basically hear that I still really don't like Selena, or however she's pronounced. I really need to have a listen into the audiobook to understand all the names. And I also don't think Dorian is my favorite anymore, which is weird to say the least for my typical taste, but I really like Nehemia. Nehemia? I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with names. I really also have this thing that I always mispronounce names in fantasy novels, which I think is typical, but also, you know, when I read Twilight back in the day, I also always read Carly wrong. I mean, I was young back then, but I pronounced them Khaleesi, which is a little stupid. Anyway, yeah, Nehemia is her name. And I really like her. I also like the friendship that she and Selena have. And I think that's one of the best parts in this book. And also like her relationship with Chao. I'm so sorry, I'm butchering all of these names. Cole. You know who I'm talking about, or not. This character that is like Dorian's bestie basically, and he becomes more or less Selena's bestie, and I really like the dynamic. I also don't really feel Dorian and Selena together. Also, what is Kaltain's deal? I still don't understand why she gets a POV and Nehemia does not, because I feel like Kaltain is so much not involved. I suppose she gets a bigger role later on, and I think I also like her. I can like her. She also reminds me a lot of Nesta, kinda, just a little differently, obviously. I think I can enjoy her more, but I feel like her POVs are a little pointless and not really contributing much to the main story yet. It is a series with 7 or 8 books or something. So I suppose she will, you know, make sense more later on, and everything that happens right now will, you know, contribute to it. But right now I don't see why she is so important that she needs to have a POV. Also, you know, I guess she was kind of involved in the entire mystery thing. Not really. Like another part of the mystery, without spoiling too much. I think it would have been more interesting to understand what's happening if we wouldn't have read about her, and this would have been a different kind of revelation, and then the reader could just like think back on what has happened already in the books and what it could be, what she did, that she now, you know, suddenly reacts this way, and then it would have been a mystery. But maybe that's also not what she wanted to portray. Maybe she wouldn't want this to be a mystery and something. I don't know. Yeah, with this being said, I will now try to finish this book, or at least so much that I can finish it tonight, and then we'll go outside. Yes. Okay. See you later or something. Or like later in a few days or whatever, when I have more thoughts to share on this book. So, see ya. Hello, I am back and I'm done with the book, but also generally done. I gather my thoughts. I have my little notes up, or like my Google Docs. So if I look down, I look down. And here's the book, which I have to return soon, which took me a while to read. I've actually had to prolong the time that I was allowed to have it, because I just I just couldn't finish it. I was I was almost done and I had 10 pages or like 13 pages left. And I never do this. I usually power through when I am almost done, even though I really hate it. And then I power through, but I just stopped like one chapter before it was over, and it was just, I don't know why. But either way, let's talk about it. So I suppose everyone knows Throne of Glass by now, apart from me. I mean, I know it now too. And you know, I did go in blind, as I've mentioned before, I think, most likely, or mostly blind. And I didn't know much about it, only that she's like this assassin and very, very great character, which I also think is like a thing for Sarah J. Maas's character, that they can do so much and are so great and stuff. And in this book, it was just, it was too much. It was really so much. She was so perfect all the time, and I really still don't like Selena. And also the stakes were so low. Nothing really happened that really shook me, and I don't know, it really was how I've said it before. I think that the book, like at least it felt like this to me, that the book didn't really know what it wanted to be, kind of, because it, like, more and more things came up. It was this competition, then this mystery, then the competition fell into the bag for this mystery, but then there was also so much romance drama, but also like not well done. And I think also the characters were kind of flat, and it was also a little weird which POVs we've, you know, read about. It just rambly nonsense a little. To me, at least. For now. I know it's a part, the first part in the series, and it will build on top of it. And people are so divided about how to read this, and I think I'm reading it in chronological order. I also think I will read this in tandem, even though I heard that it's insane, because, you know, 2 thick books at the same time. We shall see how I will fare, you know, as a mood reader with 2,000 pages or something ahead of me. But yes, I will check my notes real quick. Right, to get this out of the way, this is also my first note here, so it's just done and said. 2 out of 5 stars. Why? Because my rating system is a little, you know, books that I think are okay, that I enjoyed, but were not outstanding, are usually in the middle, like a 3. I think a 3 is a good rating, but like everything below is obviously, you know, with minus points, because I didn't enjoy some aspects as much as I used to in other books or something, and above because, oh wow, it's great. But also great, like 5-star grade, or like great, but something was missing. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate it. I still liked the way she writes, even though some words were once again a bit repetitive, like mate in the first Akota book and the second one, and female or male. Yeah, I didn't hate it. I hated books more than this before. Like I said, I didn't hate it. It didn't annoy me so much. It was just a little, it cringed me out a little. But it was an experience. With this being said, I knew I would not enjoy it as much as I would have enjoyed it 10 years ago. I also know that my reading taste has developed, obviously, as I've grown older and I've read much more books by now, so I know more what I like to read and everything, and this book just didn't hit it. I was constantly not interested in this competition, so it was not such a shame for me that it was, you know, pushed to the background. But narratively, it was kind of a shame that it didn't really happen much on screen. But I think the book would have benefited more if it would have been more show, not tell. Later on, she develops, her writing develops, and you can see that she tries to make like ways of how to actually show what is happening, even though the characters are not entirely a part of it. I just remember, which I also didn't like it per se, but I just remember in, which was it? Where is the book? A Court of Wings and Ruin, I think, when this big battle happened, and then Feyre was just up on this hill. Spoiler, obviously, for Akota. Spoiler, warning. But anyway, Feyre was up on this hill, and then she watched from above how the battle happened, because it was her POV and not Rhysand's POV. I think she was watching Rhysand. So this she basically fixed in a way, so she tried to come up with solutions of how to solve this, which I really like. You can really also see that her writing style developed so much, and generally how she acts as an actor, how she behaves as a writer, and I really like to see that. But yeah, Throne of Glass, it is really obvious that she wrote it back in the day when she was really young. And it's like her first book she ever wrote, and also the ideas behind it are a little overused. You can just see all the things she might have been interested in, like the competition and Little Hunger Games-ish, which I love, but once again, it was kind of boringly executed. And then the love triangle, which was also kind of annoying and a little boring to me, because I don't know, I think it's just Selena's fault because I don't like her and I don't think she's so believable. But either way, I think there are so many like different parts that could have been better and could have changed and could have developed differently, that would have made it much more interesting. Also, like, this entire mystery, it was interesting that she went below, you know, and found out all of these things and then had this fantasy-ish stuff unlocked, I would say. I don't want to spoil too much. It was just all over the place, and I think if it would have focused on one thing more, then it would have been better. But this is, you know, just how it is. Maybe it's also just me that really just wants to know what the book is about, and then it's just one thing and that's how it is, and not just suddenly something else and then something else and then it just jumps out of my expectations. But anyway, I'm rambling. I think the twist was not really a twist to me. It was, in this regard, pretty much what you expect you will get. Like, the bad guy was the bad guy and good guys are the good guys, and I think that is a little boring. But it also makes me believe that maybe this was not supposed to be a twist at all. I'm not sure. Either way, I think it didn't really shock me. Speaking of twists, the romance. I really didn't feel the entire romance, this entire book. Like, the main romance. I'm not naming names, but you will know what I'm talking about. Her main romance felt so forced and stiff, and I really did not like that. And I really liked him at first a lot, but it also kind of shifted because he kind of also lost focus as a character, and I didn't really like that. So seeing once again how the focus shifted in the end, like the very, very end, felt also so unnatural. So she just like shifted just in the middle, kind of. She obviously had, in my opinion, disclaimer, in my opinion, so much more chemistry with this other character that I understand how the change happened. Because, look, you know, it felt a little like, yeah, she was writing happily and then she was like, oh, actually, these two characters work so much more together than these two characters. And then she decided to change it, kind of. I don't know. That's maybe just my brain, how it read it. It's a little like, you know, coming up with something in the middle, which is totally fine, I think. But it was very visible, especially because it just happened in this first book. This was a little too quick. Also, you know, just one couple stops, kind of what's happening between them for now, at least. And then it directly went on to the other person. So I'm just like, okay, but you do you, I guess. So yes, this also didn't really do it for me. I did, like I said, like Dorian a lot. I didn't like Selena as a person, as a character, as a person. I think Haltane's chapters were so unnecessary. I also think that Chol, what's it, like, how do you pronounce his name even? But I like him a lot, and I also like Nehemia, I think is her name, a lot as well. And I was also very happy that the female friendship was resolved, because this is one thing that also is always very nice to read in Sarah J. Maas's books, that she writes these female friendships so well and nicely, and it's just something that is missing in normal romantasy books, I feel. I'm just thinking about, you know, Crescent City, the female friendship in there was also really nice and really cute, and it's still, like, in book 3, it still gives me kind of goosebumps at times, because it's just so nice to read about, and it's just not something that just falls off and falls flat, goes flat? Falls flat. Because it's focused on, and I think that is really, really nice. So yeah, this is a plus as well. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars, which I also expected. Maybe my mind would have been changed or would have been different if I wouldn't have been warned and wouldn't have been so much on my fence before getting into this book. But maybe it also really changed or like saved my reading experience, so it didn't really make it worse than it actually is, because that was kind of how I felt with the Crescent City. And I was a little weirded out by the tone of the story and stuff like that, and it was hyped so, you know, into, it's a German saying, in den Himmel loben, and it was praised into the sky, basically, you know, you get the gist, and that made it worse. So yeah, maybe that's save it for me. And even though I do really need a break now from Throne of Glass and this entire series, because it was just kind of boring and I really need a book that slaps, I will continue and I will update you, I suppose, and I hope I will get more into it and that Selena will stop being the way she is and will change a little. But let's see. I mean, I also don't like Farah, after all. Maybe it's just the protagonist and I don't like Bryce, never mind. But usually I don't seem to like the protagonists of Sarah J. Maas's stories. I like Nesta too. Either way. Enough of that, I keep rambling and I want to finish this video now. So, see you when I see you, I guess. Bye!